We are 66 times.
Hello again, welcome to 66 Times. My name's Peter Gurry and this is the 66 Times podcast. And you are now listening to episode 6, the final episode in season 1. The title of this series could be misleading, Revenue in Crisis. Now, it could also be titled Revenue and Competitive Advantage, because what we're talking about is actually competitive advantage and the operational needs associated with achieving that. The crisis we refer to is the type of crisis that is one that requires the business to respond. Now, it's typically market or competitive driven, but ultimately, when you're in the business and you're working to a plan and something upsets that plan and you need to remain on track and competitive, you must respond as if it's a crisis. And when you respond, your success is measured on the time it takes and the degree of how well informed you are in your direction. These facets are what we've been discussing in this series. I've shared with you the 66 times 4 Ps, and in particular, our approach to people. The point I've made very clear is that all people are subject to the same level of attention and focus. Our prospects, our customers, our team members, our employees, our external parties, all require support, all have anxieties, all require decision making, all need to adopt something different. The confident engagement and participation of internal team members and stakeholders is as important and should be measured with the same level of insight and the same level of precision as we would a prospect or a customer journey. We must provide these internal people with the same level of support, the same degree of listening, the same intelligent solutions to their anxieties. We must apply measures and accountabilities to ensure our internal team is actually where we need them to be. The actual tools are easy. When I say easy, I don't mean that they're uncomplicated. They require a great deal of consideration and thought. They'll fall flat on their face if this environment that I'm referring to is not in place. To wrap up episode 6 and to offer you a season 1 summary, I'd like to take you through each episode and the key takeaway points. So in episode 1, we discussed the concept of crisis and that a crisis really is anything that asks you or forces you to question your plan, and therefore competitive advantage is the confidence, pace and intelligence around your response. In episode 2, we discussed a crisis averted, a case study where we showed a moment in time during the global financial crisis where a great deal of smarts or a great deal of initiative and innovation had gone on within one business. And that innovation came with extreme stress, pressure, and a great deal of risk, and that we discussed the new frontier, which is operationalisation and simplification. In episode 3, we metaphorically discussed a hungry beast, and that hungry beast being the scale of business, the effort and investment that we've made in large connected data platforms and systems. We've created a big investment, an investment that needs to be paid off. Therefore, we've created a desperate scenario where success needs to be achieved in terms of ROI. In episode 4, we discussed one of those key solutions. We focused on the first P, people, and how people with a capital P are as important internally as they are externally. May I remind you that people internally within the business are the ones that actually have to make stuff happen. While everything is directed at the prospect or at the customer, there are stresses and there are support requirements that your existing investment, your data systems and platforms can alleviate. And once alleviated, that is another point of competitive advantage and a key aspect of responding to stress, responding to challenge when challenged. And then episode 5. We went one step further from theory into practice, where we looked at the guiding principles of people and how to support measured adoptions and milestones for those successes within the business. Irrespective of what state of evolution your business is in its adoption of its platform and connected data system investments, we discussed several use cases associated with what should be your top people priority in terms of accountability, in terms of measurements. To state it clearly, this is where the brand's proposition, the culture we establish around evolution and change, and the operational structures must all come together. This is the 4 Ps. This is people, this is process, this is programs, and this is platforms. All of them are brought together with this idea of efficiency and responsiveness. The tactics come out of this machine. This machine produces and continually evolves. The ultimate outcome is readiness, responsiveness, and competitive advantage. It is at this point that we near the end of episode 6 and the conclusion of season 1, revenue in crisis. Now, the main point, as you've heard, is that this is an operational phase. We need to make good on our smarts, make good on our investments, and ultimately work smarter, not harder. Now, this is easier said than done. I've provided you with measures, I've provided you with guidelines, I've provided you with suggestions, I've provided you with examples. But the main thing that stands out loud and clear is that competitive advantage is not built on smarts alone. Competitive advantage now means responding quickly, responding well, and then assessing in an equally intelligent format. All of this somehow has to come out of a machine that is also maintaining their business as usual. The last thing I want you to take away from this is that it's a trivial exercise. You don't spend 6 episodes talking at a high level about a concept and have it be trivial. This is complex. It requires an understanding of your current state in order to move forward. I'm asking you to measure externally and internally in the same way. I'm asking you to think differently about the way your business typically plans. I'm reversing that on its head, in fact, from platform first to a people first. But if you buy into the one concept, and that is you could be doing things smarter, you could be doing them quicker with less effort, well then, these principles in this season are very relevant to you. The outcome, competitive advantage, and ultimately the ability to thrive when others are struggling. And then finally, in this summary, I offer you the reassurance that there'll be a second season, a series 2, and I look forward to joining you then. I hope you've enjoyed this series. I genuinely hope you're going to benefit by it, yourself personally and your team.